All right, so you're gonna have situations where you want to have one thing one color and one thing another color in your model. So let's say this S, we want it to be a separate color, separate material than everything around it. How are you going to do that? Well, one possibility, depending on the situation, is the Polygon fill tool. So I'll show you how that works. I'm going to use a plastic here for one layer, and then on the other layer I will use another plastic, but I'll use the red kind of bumpy one. Nope, that's probably going to be, well, I'll scale it down there. Okay. So on this, in fact, I'll put that one on the bottom. Let's say we want this top part right here to be blue, but we don't want the rest of it to be blue. How are we going to do that? Well, what I'm going to do, I'll turn this one off for now, is I'm going to add a mask on here. I'm going to add a black mask, and it's going to, that means it's going to hide everything. I just right click on it to do that. And then if I were to paint white, it'll reveal what's underneath it. And black will do the opposite. It'll delete everything. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use this tool right here called the Polygon fill tool. And now what I'm going to use is white to reveal. And I'm just going to draw a square on here. Now this is pretty painstaking work, as you can see, but it allows you, and you can also just click on them, it allows you to select the individual polygons. So rather than doing a paintbrush, which is not going to be very precise, doing this method is going to allow you to get exactly the polygons that you want. And again, and when I say painstaking, it does take some time to actually select all these. If you make a mistake, you can always just go back in with black, make sure it's black, and undo it. And eventually, you'll get this to be the exact shape of the, and you can also do it on here, of the S. If you do a box on here, though, beware. It will actually go underneath to the other side. And I'm sure there's a way to turn that off. I don't know how it is. But, I mean, you could just do that and then really easily come in here afterwards and just come on this side and just take a black. That'd be fairly quick. But otherwise, you can just stay on this side and do it. So yeah, I'm not going to take the time to do each and every one of these because I think you get the idea, but it is, you know, a way. Sometimes this stuff does take a little bit of time, and that's okay, you know, to make it look really good. It's easier than painting it by hand, that's for sure. So you just have to decide, you know, how much of these details do you want to include in your model. When you're done with that, you're going to find there's still a problem. So I'm not going to do any more. We'll just get an idea. And that problem is the layer underneath, the bumps are still there. So other situations, you know, things, properties from lower layers could still be there. So what I'm going to need to do is on this layer, on this red one, I'm going to need to do the opposite of what's going on here. So I'm doing this a little early. I should wait until I was done painting this, but just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to copy this mask, and I'm going to paste that mask into here. And then I'm simply just going to invert it. And that's right-click, Invert Mask. So now what I've done is I've got the bumpy parts. And you can see it right here. But then the areas where there's paint above it, it's invisible. There's nothing there because I used black on there. And on this one, it's the exact opposite. So essentially, I'm just stacking these on top of each other. And that way, the properties won't interact with each other. And you'll see that there's some areas you might say, oh, you know what, I actually did that wrong. You can always go back in with the black mask and fix it. You'd want to do this before you did that next step, because now I have to come into the red one and do the same thing. I have to make it white so that I can see it. There we go. Okay. So that's how you get two materials on a pretty complex shape. If you want a straight line, instead of having to use the brush, this is the process you're going to want to use.